Hi everyone, this is how you can open PDFs that are in Google Classroom into Notability or something else like Notes. So right here I've opened Google Classroom and I'm going to tap on the PDF that I want to open. And then once it opens up, I'm going to tap this little button in the upper right hand corner, the little square with the arrow coming out of it. Then I'm going to tap the three dots again up in the right hand corner. And then I'm going to tap Open In. It's above Rename and below Send a Copy. This way I can choose any of my apps here to open this PDF in. And what I want to do is select Notability. But if you are unable to find Notability in this list of apps here, you have to go all the way to the right and tap on More. And then make sure that Notability is one of these suggestions. And the way that you can pin it so it's always one of these apps that shows up is by tapping this Edit button up here and pressing on the plus button right here. And you can do that with the other apps that you'd like as well. So I think it's smart to have Classroom as one of the apps that I've favorited, as well as Gmail if I want to send it instantly to somebody. So now those apps are all pinned right here. So after I tap Notability, you have the option to create a new note or add it to an existing note. I want to create a new note in this case. And then you can make sure right here that you've selected the right subject within your Notability app. I'm going to make sure that this is in my GHS folder. And I'm fine with the title. So once you're okay with this, you're just going to tap Import. Done. And then you head over to Notability. And here it is. So now I just want to go over some of the tools that you can use to mark up your notes on Notability or any PDFs that you've imported. So right now I have the little hand tool selected, and this just allows me to scroll up and down on my document or zoom in and out without accidentally marking it up if I had one of the other tools selected. So to create a text box, you're just going to press this T button. And if I tap it again, you have a few features. There's Off, which means I can just tap anywhere on the page and a text box will appear. And there's also Draw, where I can diagonally just draw my own text boxes. And then if I want to move a text box around, I'm just going to take my finger and press it on this little tab here with the three lines. And then I can also resize these text boxes as well with the little four corners and rotate it with this little rotate button. When you're in the text tool, you can also customize the font that you use. So right here is the font name, and I have a bunch to choose from. And then you can change the size, the color, and the style. And say if I really like this font style and I want to kind of keep it as a default font style, I can select one of these hearts right here and then adjust the font style and size to my liking, as well as the color. And then that saves it as a font favorite. So as soon as you hit any of these, it'll snap to that font favorite that you've selected. So next to the text tool, you have your pencil tool, your highlighter, and your eraser. So for the pencil tool, if I tap on it and then select it again, you can see all the different options and colors here to choose from. Over here are your point sizes and then your line styles. This one that I'm selected on is pressure sensitive, so the harder that I push down, the thicker the line will be. And then if you want to add a new color, you want to make sure that you swipe over to the right until you see this little plus button, and then you can select whatever color you'd like. With the highlighter tool, it works very similarly to the pencil tool. You have all the same options. But the nice thing about the highlighter tool is that it won't draw over anything that you've created with the pencil tool. It'll just go right underneath. Now with the eraser tool, there's two different options to erase things. There's whole erase or partial erase. So if I select whole erase, if I draw over any part of this line right here, it's going to erase the entire thing. But with partial erase, it's very similar to just a normal eraser where it only erases the parts that you draw over. If I want to undo or redo anything that I've just done, I tap this once, this little arrow over here, once to undo, and I can press and hold it to redo. So now I'm going to show you how you can create really straight lines and really smooth shapes with the pencil tool. This also works for the highlighter tool as well. So right now I've selected my pencil tool, and I'm just going to create a normal line. So it doesn't look that good because it's a little bumpy and it's kind of hard to draw with your fingers. So if I wanted this to be a straight line, I'm just going to draw my line, and I'm going to stand still for a second at the end of the line. And do you see how I just kind of snapped to that straighter line? So I'll do it again. Drawing my line, pausing until it snaps into a straight line. And from here, I'm allowed to adjust the line however I'd like, and it'll use where you began your line as an anchor point. If I want to go in and edit this line, I can just tap the scissor tool and tap anywhere on this line to be able to resize it. These two squares will appear, which indicates that you can resize it. And move it as well by just tapping anywhere within the line. So this also works with shapes as well, so I'll demonstrate how to draw a circle. So I'm just going to draw my circle, and I'm going to pause at the top until it snaps into that perfect circle. And similarly to the line option, don't let go until you're okay with the size of your circle. And from here I can adjust with these little corners. And if I don't like where the circle's placed, I again can tap on the scissor tool, tap on my circle, and then move it around. I can do this with ovals as well. I just gotta make sure that it's a distinct oval shape. And squares. So this also works with more complex shapes as well. You probably won't end up needing to do this, but I'll just show it anyways. So if I wanted to create a hexagon, I just make sure that I'm making very distinct sides, and then it'll snap to that shape as well. And it also works with arrows, so it's a little specific the way that they want you to draw an arrow. You have to make your line first, and then make the tip of your arrow, and then it snaps into this perfect arrow shape. So the tool next to the eraser tool is the scissor tool, and this allows you to edit any shapes or words that you've written with the pencil tool or the highlighter tool. So if I make a shape here, I can select it with the scissor tool to be able to resize it from there. Now with the scissor tool, there's two options to select things. You have your own draw your selection option, or just a rectangular selection. If you want to add any photos or scan any documents, you're going to be able to do that by pressing this plus button right here. This allows you to access your photo library, your camera, and your document scan camera, as well as GIFs, web clips, and stickies. Now say you want to change the order of these pages, you can tap this button in the very right hand corner, and if you select these three dots, you can add a page, you can cut out a page, copy a page, or clear the page. But if I just wanted to switch the order of these two pages, all I have to do is select it, hold it for a second, and then I can move it down. So next to the little plus button are these three dots, and this is where I can go ahead and change the style of my paper. So if I go into Options, Paper, I can choose between a bunch of different line and grid options, as well as dots. And I can also change the color. I can also make sure that my Apple Pencil is either connected or disconnected from Notability by clicking on the three dots and going into Info. And where it says Apple Pencil, all it's telling me to do is right to connect it. So I can go ahead. And now it's connected to my Apple Pencil, and my fingers will no longer create lines when I touch the screen. But if I want to go ahead and disconnect it, I just go back into Info and disconnect. So now it's disconnected once again. There's also two different view options that you can choose from. So one of them is the seamless scrolling option, where you can just scroll between your two pages. The second is this single page view, where you have to swipe left and right to switch between your two pages. Another cool feature within Notability is the ability to quickly switch between two notes. So to do so, you can access the Note Switcher panel by swiping from the left side of the iPad into the middle. Then I can select my new note. I can also view two notes at the same time within the Notability app. So it's not split screen per se, it's just two notes in the same app. So I'm going to access my Note Switcher panel. I'm going to tap on the three dots on one of my notes, and then you can select to view it on the left or the right. And then you can adjust the size of each note window and zoom in on each. So once you're ready to export this to your Google Classroom, the best way to do it is by tapping the Share button and sending it to the Google Drive. But before you do this, you want to make sure that your Google Drive account is connected to Notability. You can do so by going to the home page and tapping the gear icon in the bottom left corner, and then making sure you're logged into Google Drive. It's really important that you do this. You want to make sure that it's the right account as well. So, tapping the Share button, selecting Google Drive. The best format to pass in any documents that you've scanned is probably PDF. But if you have a bunch of written notes that you've created originally on Notability, you could use an image format instead, or a note format where you can just open it right in Notability. An image format is best in PNG format. JPEG is kind of a bigger format, and it can have the potential to lose your image quality. But I want to go back to PDF. And then once I'm okay with all of this, I'm just going to send it to Google Drive. And now it'll be in my Google Drive folder. Right here. So the nice thing about sending it to Google Drive is that it'll update whatever document you've already put in place. So if I had it here already in Google Drive, and I made changes onto this document, and then I sent it to Google Drive once again in the same folder, same style, it'll update that right in my drive.